Welcome to the SVG-TV News for Friday, February 18th. I'm Khalil Keita with the details. A signing ceremony was held yesterday for the standard and compliance regulations for SVG's medicinal cannabis industry. Minister of Agriculture Saboto Caesar signed the document, which sets out in detail all the rules governing the industry from security to record keeping. It also focuses on edible and infused products and laboratory services.
The AG's chambers over the last 2 or 3 years have compiled a document with the regulations. This document will be used by stakeholders throughout the industry, and it would also be a document which is be used by lawyers and by students, because I know that when we sign this document today and it is gazetted next week, that many other islands in the Caribbean will be asking to see this document as they work to also build out their cannabis industries.
Minister Caesar used the opportunity to extend an invitation to other member states of CARICOM interested in partnering with SVG to broaden the production platform and scope of production and productivity that has already been started in the development of the medical cannabis industry.
It is only through that level of unity that we will be able to create an internal market for our medicinal cannabis that will cause the traditional cultivator, the foreign investor, the local investor, and persons from the region who wish to invest to really realize the types of profits needed to drive the industry. There are hundreds of trained practitioners in the OECS sub-region in medicine. We know that there are hundreds of thousands of persons who would visit other member states of the OECS, providing a very large intra-regional market. But there are many member states that have not yet gotten to the stage of completing the legislative journey.
Noting that it is a blessing to sign the medicinal standard and compliance regulations for SVG, Minister Caesar thanked the staff of the SVG Medicinal Cannabis Authority for their excellent work over the years in developing the industry.
That today we can sign, we can celebrate, we can reflect and prepare for what we anticipate in this country to be a very bright future for the medicinal cannabis industry. It is important that all of this is placed in its proper context. We started, first of all, by expressing the political will that the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, it was our quest to establish a modern medicinal wellness industry. And cannabis was going to be the first major limb, but we can never forget the role played by the traditional herbalists.
The Chief Executive Officer of the Medicinal Cannabis Authority, Dr. Gerald Thompson, said the signing of the standard and compliance regulations is a major milestone for the MCA. Dr. Thompson said the requirements outlined in the document will help to improve the quality of medicinal cannabis.
This is not about quality and procedure. And you know, here in St. Vincent, we already have a high quality of medicinal cannabis production. But the issue is, how can we even make it higher? And how can we make what is produced something that the international sector is going to appreciate, is going to want, and is going to desire. Now, in terms of the various methods of production, you need production that can overcome what's called the technical barriers to trade. Because sometimes you can produce a very high quality product, and it's an excellent product, but if it's not packaged in the right way, if there isn't the right documentation, if the safety profile is not right, if you haven't had the record keeping and the testing, then it may not be able to make the grade for international trade.
The MCA CEO said the development of the document also places SVG in a position where it can adopt standards of other jurisdictions, such as Europe and Canada.
And adopt various other countries, and built into the regulations are the flexibility to be able to do this. This regulation covers a wide range of areas and covers security, it covers labeling and packaging, waste management, track and trace, record keeping is a core of this regulation. And in terms of transportation, cultivation, manufacturing, the production and processing, edible and infused products, an area that's not usually covered. And I know our biotechnologist, Dr. Cummins, has worked very hard on this particular area. And also on the analytical service provider. It covers laboratory processes, the laboratory quality, sampling, and the whole way of analyzing it. It also covers research, and what's important, it covers the way one should be able to export or any form of import.
The Ministry of Health, Wellness and the Environment will be working along with a number of stakeholders to hold public conversations on the COVID-19 vaccines through caravans in several communities across SVG. Speaking on NBC's Face-to-Face program today, Health Promotions Officer Shanika John said they will roll out the new initiative this weekend.
And those are persons that are going to be going into communities within this weekend into next weekend. So you'll see them up until about May. They'll identify themselves. You will be able to identify them as the public as well. They'll wear t-shirts and they'll have badge and so forth. And they really just want to get a sense of what's happening, if you've been vaccinated, if you've had delayed in your vaccination, and also prepare you for the caravan that will come on the weekend. Because I know sometimes people say that they're not sure, they didn't hear, even though sometimes we put out the release, we would announce it on radio. So we're also adding another feature to it. So the week before the caravan, we will have public health canvassers on the ground who will try to sensitize and get as much persons together. So this weekend we're definitely going that side. So we're looking forward to see a good turnout from that area.
Encouraging persons to take the available COVID-19 vaccines, the Health Promotions Officer outlined the schedules for this weekend's vaccination drives, which will be in the communities on the windward side of the island.
So we're actually going to North Windward this week. This weekend in particular, Sunday, we should get to Park Hill for 10 o'clock. Then we're going to South Rivers, and then we're going to stop at Sandy Bay. The North Windward team is also is very good. The people are a lot more receptive in that area as well. We tend to get a very good feedback, hitting close to 100, little over 100. And so we are very excited about that.
Noting that Pfizer and Sputnik V are the only available vaccines in the country currently, John said that the Ministry of Health is doing its best to get more AstraZeneca and other COVID-19 vaccines.
The vaccines that we have available that would be on that caravan are the Pfizer and the Sputnik V. Currently, we do not have any AstraZeneca in the country. We are making all the preparations that we can to get some additional doses, as well as to get some other vaccines, like the Moderna vaccines as well, available in St. Vincent.
Question, when When would you be coming to Leeward? That's another question by WhatsApp.
We were in Leeward 2 weeks ago. I'm hoping that we could get to Leeward again maybe by the next weekend.
This person is in Spring Village.
Yes, by the next weekend. But if you are listening to me as well, you can also go to the clinic and ensure that you get your vaccine to avoid any further delay. But we'll definitely make arrangements to head to the Leeward side, even into the Marico Valley, and also into Kingston as well.
President of the SVG Teachers Union, Oswald Robinson, remains confident that the union will win its ongoing case against the government for its vaccination policy, which resulted in a number of teachers losing their jobs for not taking the jab. Robinson told SVG-TV News that their legal team presented a solid case on their behalf.
I noted that the government side referred to some cases, what we call authorities, which most of them were not applicable to this case, because you see, we are speaking about infringing on people's fundamental rights and freedom, right to conscience, that sort of thing. We are speaking about constitutional law, which is the highest law of the land, and when you're changing people's working conditions arbitrarily and unilaterally, you have to look at, for example, our collective agreement. The job description of workers. If vaccination is not part of it, you can't just arbitrarily tell somebody they have to do that, and to tell people you are deemed to have resigned when you're going to work. You're going to work and you're working and you have showed interest that you want to work. Plus, you created a havoc of the education system by firing so many experienced people with years of service. So right now the education system is in dire need of quality teachers, and we have to fix this. And one way of fixing this is for the government to get rid of that wicked act and to reinstate our members, workers in general, with all benefits intact.
Robinson said they are eagerly awaiting the ruling on Monday.
I'm sure that the judge is very serious about this matter, and I appreciate the expediency in which she has decided to have a hearing on this matter. Applicants, which is our lawyers for the workers, completed their presentations today, and that came after the respondents would have made their presentations. I continue to remain confident. Our lawyers did an extremely fantastic job, and so the court is adjourned until Monday so that the judge would have enough time to study the presentations and have a ruling on Monday. Monday is the 21st at 9 o'clock. A very interesting debate from both sides, but remain very confident in terms of the outcome.
Opposition Member of Parliament for West Kingstown and trained engineer Daniel Cummings has raised multiple concerns on the proposed quarry project in Richmond, North Leeward. Speaking on the issue on a radio program recently, Cummings highlighted a number of issues which he said would arise as a result of the project and encouraged persons to visit the site to make their own personal assessments.
That if this project goes ahead, all the work of the Richmond Vale Academy will be brought to zero. All of the farming on either side of that ridge will be brought to zero. Fitzhughes will no longer be a habitable area for people to live. The Richmond Power Station will be threatened, if not made extinct. Several top quality water supply systems will be destroyed. North Leeward is served by the Cumberland system, the same river that feeds the hydro plant at Cumberland also supplies water as far down as Mount Wynn on the Leeward side. All of that is threatened.
The opposition MP also questioned the government's intention, noting that no mention of the quarry project was made in the recent budget exercise. Cummings said the project has the potential to affect many residents in their homes and schools.
We know what is involved in that. We know what comes from that. Depending on the wind direction, tons and tons of dust and ash will be into the homes and the schools and the streets of all of the people of Fitzhugh and Chateaubelair, possibly going over the ridge to Petit Badel, depending on the wind direction and strength. This is not fairy tale. Where is the environmental study for such a major catastrophe? How could a contractor present so-called mitigating measures when nobody has identified the problems that they're to mitigate?
The Richmond Quarry project is being undertaken by the St. Lucian company Reno Construction Limited, which has a leasehold for 30 years and will reportedly make an investment of $30 million in the first instance. Over time, the project is expected to provide employment for up to 250 persons. The two-day meeting of the 7th OECS Council of Ministers of Education concluded here today and was hailed as a productive and useful meeting by new chair, SVG's Minister of Education, Curtis King. 6 recommendations made by youths were adopted by the ministers at the meeting. Some of the recommendations are providing training for parents, paying close attention to the underprivileged, and improving methods of teaching for teachers. At a news conference this afternoon, Minister King said implementing the recommendations is a key focus moving forward.
The challenges we have with the assessment that we do in our schools, and that in itself, assessment as a major issue, form part of the broad discussion over the last 2 days. And coming out of this meeting, a decision was taken to have an immediate follow-up to discuss this whole issue of assessment. And so we are going to have a special meeting where we are going to look at the issue in greater details with the intention of coming up with practical solutions, if you like, practical recommendations to dealing with the issue of assessment to make it more relevant to the stage at which we are with our education. And that meeting will be held in early March.
Minister King also highlighted the need to strengthen OECS education systems in light of the vulnerabilities to disasters.
The fact that as a region, we have experienced many hazards over the years, annually. It's just every year. And given our experiences, it suggests that this is an area in which we should have been better prepared. So the meeting did acknowledge and recognize our deficiency there. But it also acknowledged that efforts were being made to deal with this issue, both at the regional and national levels.
According to the Education Minister, the pandemic exposed the weaknesses in the education systems region-wide and admits that they should have been better prepared, which was another area addressed at the meeting.
The regional and national levels that are seeking to deal with this whole issue of integrating ICT technology in the teaching learning process. And in any event, we all recognize that schooling as we know it would not be the same after the pandemic. And as such, we have to be prepared for other hazards, for other situations like what we have seen with the COVID-19 pandemic. And as such, we must be in a better position to have the continuity of learning, to build greater resilience, if you like, so that our school would not be so disrupted.
The theme for the 7th OECS Council of Ministers of Education meeting was Education in Extraordinary Times, from Vulnerability to Resilience. Today, the Republic of China and Taiwan and the government of SVG signed an agreement funding the Women's Empowerment Initiative. The initiative seeks to help women with small enterprises develop their skills and product lines. They would be aided with business sessions ranging from product development to marketing through the Center for Enterprise Development. At the end of the training, business owners will receive grants to help fund their businesses. The Agency for Public Information said the signing ceremony held at the Ministry of Finance. That should be at the signing ceremony, Taiwanese Ambassador His Excellency Peter Shalilan expressed his pleasure in partnering in this venture and continues to support programs which would contribute to the development of women. Minister of Finance Camilo Gonzalez encouraged all female entrepreneurs, whether they have a startup business or are seeking to expand their businesses, to take advantage of the program. The project runs from March to June 2022, and application forms are available at the Center for Enterprise Development. In an effort to ease the traffic congestion on the Arnisvale Public Road, the Traffic Department of the RSVG Police Force will implement minor changes to the flow of traffic in the area between 7 and 9 a.m. from Monday. The department said the modification to the traffic is specifically for motorists and omnibus operators who transport students to the St. Vincent Boys Grammar School and the St. Vincent Girls High School located on the tarmac of the decommissioned E.T. Joshua Airport. The changes are: when traveling from Kingstown and surrounding areas, proceed to the Arnisvale roundabout, then make a U-turn, come back towards the E.T. Joshua Airport, and then make a left onto the tarmac through the gate located opposite the C.K. Graves supermarket. When traveling from Mesopotamia, Bel Air, Queens Drive and surrounding areas into Kingstown, proceed along the Arnisvale Public Road, then turn left onto the Joshua Center through the gate opposite C.K. Graves. All other road traffic flows in the area remain unchanged. The traffic department said the new arrangement will be monitored closely and subjected to a review based on its effectiveness. Head of the department, Superintendent Kenneth John, expressed thanks to the general public for their continued support in the quest to ease the traffic congestion and to keep the roads of SVG safe. Colette Myers, St. Vincent's first female music producer, is making a name for herself as she steps out from behind the scenes. The Bookerman Bay resident says that her passion for music began as an infant. However, it was only in 2019 that she decided to dive into the industry professionally. And although her vision for her brand was distorted as a result of the pandemic, she continues to push forward.
Well, my love for music started as a baby, according to my mom. Hi, Mommy. She said in order to get me to sleep, she would have to put a radio right next to me and play, and then by that I'm gone. Started in late 2019 and the pandemic hit 2020. So what it has only given me so far is persons recognizing me and saying, oh, you produce, or you're a lady producer, so forth. That's about it, but that goes a long way because, you know, eventually other persons are going to get talking. So
Myers, who goes by the creative name Colette Shun, is also an artist and shared with us a verse from one of her songs.
I go live every day like my last, keep my head up and stay out the dark. People celebrate you when you're gone. After all, you're worth more when you pass. When you pass, after all, you're worth more when you pass. That song was written since 2020, and it was, each part was like situations I went through, situations I witnessed, situations that were brought to me. So that's one of the most personal songs.
Although she has pursued a career in administration for over a decade, Myers continues to make time for music, as it's a passion she would never allow to die, and also believes in diversifying one's income. Myers also spoke of the trials she has faced in the industry over the years as a female and encouraged other young women who might be looking to step into the music industry to get to know the legal aspect of the industry to avoid selling themselves short.
To do before you do work with anyone, get something written. If you're going to write an entire song, or if you're going to approach somebody who's going to do half of the project, half meaning they're providing the instrumental, you're providing the lyrics and the voice, and the composition, how the lyrics, how it's going to be sung, you have rights. So learn and understand that you are entitled to shares if your song go big. So get the paperwork first before you do business. Before you go to the mic and sing, get the paperwork out. If you're a female artist, secure yourself. You're going to get that blunt. You're going to get that hit. You can also reach out to me because I'm open to working with females.